Now call to order the 1569th meeting of the General Student Senate, the 22nd meeting of the 45th session. Notice this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom and the recording will be publicly available on YouTube. Next, I will read the landing. The University of Maine recognizes that it is located on Marsh Island and the homeland of the Penobscot Nation, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Penobscot homeland is connected to the other Wabanaki tribal nations, the Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Micmac, through kinship, alliances, and diplomacy. The university also recognizes that the Penobscot Nation and the other Wabanaki tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. The clerk will now call.
Cynthia Shelberdine. Here. Ezekiel Delorme.
Here.
Nate Fang.
Here.
Jordan Thompson.
Here.
Hayden Buzzle. Maggie Johnson. Here. Catherine Cowan. Here. Joshua Bell.
Here.
Billy Angelo.
Excused.
Isabella Madrid. Here. Taylor Kearns. Here. Matthew Weber.
Here.
Laura Berlin. Here. Pastor Harvey. James Reader Stewart. Marcus McLean.
Here.
Bill Mishu. Meredith Waters.
Excused.
Jared Martin.
Here.
Kyle Ricker. Zachary Kellogg.
Excused.
Ethan Riley.
Here.
Hazel Sparks. Here. Alan Bella.
Here.
Taylor Stanford. Keegan Tripp.
Here.
Memphis Peterson.
Here.
Oliver Bois.
Here.
Kevin Lehman.
Here.
Neil Rocky.
Here.
Elizabeth Oldfield. Here. Abby Downer. Here. Louis Stiglitz. Here. Olivia Britton.
Excused.
Riley Mills.
Here.
Dylan DeMarchand.
Excused.
Amanda Levesque. Here. Jacob Parkquist.
Here.
Hannah Blanchett. Here. Zachary Homer.
Here.
John Guzman.
Here.
Askalea.
Here.
Conrad Dungan.
Excused.
Eddie Tanaka.
Here.
Lori Sadoko. Yes.
I am now looking for approval of the 10/29/2024 minutes and this agenda. Senator Ritter,
I move to approve the 10/29/24 minutes on this agenda. Second.
if that's the pleasure of the Senate, then it's adopted. Moving on to Robert's Rules Tip of the Week. We're doing that then. A point of privilege here. Let's do that. A point of privilege is a personal preference when it comes down to something like the noise, the room temperature, if the AC is too loud. You simply just raise your hand, I acknowledge you and say point of privilege, I'd like this to change for the better. You can interrupt the speaker, but I'll be upset if you do. You don't need a second, it isn't debated and it isn't amended and it doesn't need to. We will now, new senators, officer appointments or resignations. We will move into general good and welfare. Any non-member may address the General Student Senate for not more than 5 minutes. Seeing none, we will move into club maintenance, starting with the South Asian Association of Maine here for preliminary recognition.
I'm Lena Bijou. I'm the president of South Asian Association of Maine. I'm here for the preliminary recognition of the club. The club was active with the University of Maine student government a few years ago, and then we dissolved, and then we restarted again in August 2023. And now we are still a fully functioning active club with the undergrad students being the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and secretary.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the speakers? Senator Ricker?
How many members do you have?
We have almost around 200 members.
President Tripp?
How did Culture Fest go for you?
It went really well for us, yes.
Good.
Senator Bum?
How many of those members are undergraduate students?
Almost 96 to 100 students are undergraduate students.
Any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, it's the committee's recommendation.
4-0-0, that's
Senator Markcom.
the committee's recommendation.
If that's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. Any discussion? VP Hopefield,
Point of information for APS or Rocky. Don't clubs need a majority undergraduate to be acknowledged by the University of Maine to craft government?
Yeah, so they need 50% or majority, but they have, at least what they told us at SOC was 100 undergrads, 100 grad students, and then undergrad officers, so that would make them majority undergraduate.
Senator Bowman,
Do officers count towards that total?
Yeah.
any other questions for the speaker or MCC discussion? President Tripp,
Are you recognized or at least the graduate part of your organization recognized by the graduate student government?
Not yet, we are trying to get recognized as graduate student government too.
Second question.
go ahead.
Any funds, or I guess, okay. No, never mind.
Senator Bowman,
Do you see asking for any funding from us in the future?
Yes.
Can I do a repeat question? What would you be asking funding for?
We'll be asking funding for Holi, which is a festival of color, which we celebrate as South Asians. So that will be around, probably not more than $500.
any other discussion? Any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that passes. Moving on to the NROTC Midshipman Group, here for preliminary recognition.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harry. I am the midshipman commanding officer of the Navy ROTC unit here on campus. So our goal with creating this group is to create an organization affiliated, or not necessarily affiliated, but kind of using the NROTC unit as a hub, and then having a group that is not affiliated with the military as for three main reasons. We want to be able to gather funding from student government. We want to be able to do more outreach with people not involved in NROTC. So that could look like running events, setting up tables at like a student organization fair, and just generally being able to get people involved in NROTC in a capacity that is not possible through the current avenues that we have. And lastly, we want to have access to the resources available to us through groups, so that way we can better support our members. Just so overall, one of the main things that we look to get out of this is an opportunity to run some more what we call morale events. So as many of you know, the military and also college students are especially vulnerable for mental health crisis. And that's something that we've personally experienced in our unit in the past. It's an ongoing struggle. So what we hope to do is get funding and resources so that way we can do some more kind of like fun, non-military related events. And also while we're doing those, we can get larger engagement with the general public who are not in NROTC.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Senator Bowman.
How much funding do you see asking for, please?
So I don't have an exact number for you. Largely what we'd be looking for is smaller amounts, so we could do kind of like those fun events. I know one thing that we're looking to do now through campus groups is just reserve a room in the union where we could do like a movie night. So stuff like that is stuff we're looking at. And then also we do already hold several fundraising events throughout the year. So most recently we did one called the Matse Warrior Trek. And this is a fitness challenge in memorial of a Marine officer that worked for the unit. He took his life this past February, or the February before rather. And so we held this fundraiser as a way to gather funds that we could then donate to veterans' mental health initiatives. So one thing that we would like to see is getting funding and support through the school. So that way everything that we fundraise can be donated directly to the organizations we seek to support. Because in the capacity we have now, we have to take whatever we fundraise and use that to cover some of the upfront costs for holding that event. So if we can get help there, that just allows us to be able to donate more money.
Thank you. Any other questions for the speaker? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
4-0 the best.
I'm gonna reserve this for a new senator. Senator Dolan,
I move to approve the committee's recommendations.
if that's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. Any discussion? Any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that passes. Thank you to our club leaders. You're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go. Totally up to you. Next, I'd like to invite our guest speaker, Isabel Etchley, the planner for the town of Orono, here to give a presentation. You can just give us 1 minute, we'll get your stuff. Sure.
I guess while we're getting set up, I'll just give a quick sort of overview of what a town planner is, what my role is for the town. So as was mentioned, I work for the town of Orono. Planners in Maine specifically sort of wear 3 major hats. So I review projects slated for new construction. So anything that ends up going to the town's planning board, I review that against the standards of our ordinances. I also write a lot of our local ordinances, so it's a lot of policy analysis, meeting with stakeholders like this group, and trying to formulate policy recommendations for the town council to consider. And then the final thing that I do, and that's what I'm really here to talk to you about tonight, is some long-range planning efforts. So if you would go to the next slide, I'll just go through what we'll end up covering. So I'm here tonight to talk about the comprehensive plan, and we'll go through what is a comprehensive plan, what is included in the town's comp plan, why we plan, and then I'll just give you a brief overview of the planning process. And then at the end, I have a link to where you can attend some future events and give some feedback if you'd like. So you can go ahead to the next slide, and actually you can jump right through it. So a comprehensive plan is a long-range look at various topics that end up impacting a municipality's character and growth. It's also a strategy for public investment. So as part of the update to this plan, we will have to prioritize the use of taxpayer dollars to sort of realize the community's vision for the future. And that's another big part of the process. So we're meeting with stakeholder groups, we're holding a variety of listening sessions with residents and those who live, work, generally hang out in Orono, to try to understand what they are hoping for the next 10 to 12 years. And then also the plan becomes a record that ends up memorializing the decisions made during the planning process. So we really want this to be not just groups giving feedback. We actually want it to end up being something that memorializes the decisions made and again, prioritizes investment. The circle chart that you're seeing here sort of shows how a comprehensive plan ends up guiding the rest of the work that the town does. So the comprehensive plan is a state mandated document. It ends up usually recommending other plans and studies. So you might be familiar with like an economic development market analysis or a master plan effort or a neighborhood plan. Those in turn end up changing the town's ordinances. So we'll end up going through ordinance amendments as part of a recommendation of either the comp plan or those other plans and studies that I mentioned. And then any changes to town ordinances end up usually having some implications to other local policies, programming decisions, staffing needs, all of that. And you can go on to the next slide. So I should also note that the comprehensive plan ends up guiding all of those decisions for the next 10 to 15 years. And that's a state requirement of the state of Maine. So all municipalities' comp plans are sort of these long-ranging efforts that we end up looking to for guidance as we update policies and programming decisions. You can go to the next slide. So this is a little bit of an overview of what is included in the comprehensive plan. So in general, we base a lot of our planning work on community values. So we're doing all of this public engagement work right now to try to understand some core principles that are embraced by the community that end up then in turn informing the community vision. And that is again, a requirement of the state. It's a high level statement that ends up describing the kind of community that Orno wants to be in the future. And we utilize that to create goals, objectives, and actions. So goals are some, again, pretty broad aspirational statements that help make that community vision a reality. Objectives are a little bit more specific of a direction for how those goals end up being carried out. And then we also usually include action steps. So that's a specific checklist of the steps that the town and its nonprofit partners, including the university, in some cases will end up taking to implement the vision and the goals of the plan. We can go on to the next slide. So when we talk about municipal government, and when we talk about comprehensive planning, there's a lot that goes into it. And these are all of the topics that the state specifically requires us to address. So it's things like the economy, housing, agriculture and forestry, recreation, transportation, history and culture, natural and water resources, population and demographics, and then sort of the big two is land use or zoning, and then public facilities and services. So, actual maintenance of roads, maintenance of sidewalks, expansion of trails, things like that. And we can go on to the next slide. So you might be asking, why am I here? And why are we going through this process to plan? So only communities that have a state certified comprehensive plan can create certain policies like zoning ordinances or impact fee ordinances. You also get preference with a lot of Maine's state grant programs. And the state ends up actually following your comprehensive plan as they consider investments in their infrastructure. And they end up guiding that investment towards the certain growth areas that we designate within the plan. As I mentioned before, it also ends up creating a community-driven vision for the future. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, maybe one more. So this is just an overview of the planning process. A lot, if you're in the back here, you might not be able to see that, so I'll read it to you. A lot of what we've been doing so far has been review of existing conditions, but now this little bit lighter blue section is where we are now, which is trying to understand the vision and values of those who live, work, hang out in Orno. We just had an online survey that residents responded to, and now we're doing these sort of stakeholder meetings. So what I'm really here to try to understand is if you have any feedback that you'd like me to take back to the town of things that you would like to see included in the plan, you personally, or that you think students in general would like to see in the plan, so into the next 10 to 15 years. Of course, we always hope that you stay in Orno and that you'll continue to be here with us, but you also represent a really important part of our community, which is that student voice. And even if you personally aren't here, you still represent that voice into the next 10 to 15 years. So like I mentioned, we spent a lot of time on the review of existing conditions. That ended in about August of 24. We're now at the point where we're doing a lot of public engagement, and that should end in February of 25. And then we'll be actually going into policy making. So making those goals, objectives, and actions that I talked about. And that will likely start in the spring of 2025, going through the summer. And we hope to have a final plan available for review. We'll have to hold a series of public hearings, and it will be adopted hopefully by the town council in the fall of 2025. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. This is a link to our project website. We had an online survey that just ended, but we are having a series of topic meetings. So if you're interested in things like housing, the local economy and economic development, active transportation like bike paths, trails and sidewalks, or natural resources, we would encourage you to come out. The dates for those events and the times are all available on the project website. And I will also leave some postcards on your information table if you wanted to take those home. So I'm really here just to give you an overview. I think I threw a lot of information at you. I would love to answer questions that you have, but then if you have feedback, you can go to our website and submit written feedback, either from you personally or as a group.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker?
Just started, you received feedback from the resident. Have you started reviewing that yet?
So we just ended the survey last week, so we haven't started going through. But I will say that the topic meetings that I just mentioned are a result of some of that feedback that we got both through the survey, but then we also held some community open house events that residents attended earlier in October. And those 4 topics that I mentioned are chosen to do a deep dive on the data because of what we've heard from the community so far. So they told us that those were their priorities and that they wanted to see us talk about those more.
President Tripp?
I know in the past, the town of Orono has reached out to our body for, actually, Senator Martone, sat on the hiring committee for the town manager, I believe, in Orono. So I'm curious in terms of as you move more towards making the decision-making process, will you be looking for a student voice to sit on something like that again?
Yeah, that would be great. So we would need to formally appoint you by the town council, but if you are not interested in attending every meeting, which they're currently meeting monthly, we also would love to have you just attend our meetings and provide some feedback that way. And I'm open to this relationship being, as formal or as informal as you'd like it to be.
Thank you. Any other questions for the speaker? Seeing none, I'd like to say thank you for making time. I have that in my email, so I can put that in the Senate chat after the meeting's over. So thank you so much. You're more than welcome to stay or go, totally up to you. Next, we will be moving into executive reports. Senator Michelle.
I motion to make all reports limited to 3 minutes.
Hearing a second, if that's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. Any discussion on the motion? Any debate? Senator Pang?
I'm against this. I think that I think that in recent meetings, we've been pretty good about not going over, as well as I want to hear what President Tripp has to say. And then for selfish reasons, I want to hear what BPSC Lehman has to say, so I'm against this personally.
Any other debate on the motion? Senator Sparks?
I am also against this. I think that a lot of people's reports either don't have a report or are super short and it evens out in the end. So.
Any other debate? BPS or Rocky?
I'm for this. I think that anything longer than 3 minutes can be said in the Senate chat.
Any new points for debate? Senator Micho?
It's election night, polls aren't closed till 8. Yeah, anyone has to vote, we'll do a vote.
Any other points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of limiting to 3 minutes? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that passes. All reports will be held to 3 minutes. I'm pulling up my clock. We now move into executive reports. What? If I,
Technically, I'm not an executive, so do I have to abide by the 3 minutes?
Yes, all reports was the motion.
Who said executive? Specifically said executive.
No, he said all
He
reports.
said play roll tape.
When voting on this, were you under the impression that it was all reports? Raise your hand. Great.
all right, moving into executive reports, starting with the president, 3 minutes.
Luckily, 3 minutes is enough today. A little bit of housekeeping. I had to take $5 from my exec fund to reopen Kansas account as it was overdrawn. But it wasn't the current executive's fault. This was something that happened last year. And just heads up for all people in student orgs, you need to keep at least $5 in your account to keep it open. And this is something I did out of a courtesy, and I'm probably not going to do it again. So keep that in mind. Moving on, VPSO things, the interest period remains. I only have 1 application so far, so I'm really hoping that you guys are putting in a lot of work into your applications. I'm really excited to see them. I had Riley make the form a little bit more visible as it was kind of tucked away. And then I followed up today about getting an ad out from a conversation I had in passing with DOC Downer, and she got it up in like 30 minutes, so love that for us. So yeah, please spread that around, tell your friends, super important. This is a big role, it's a big position, but also it's a huge opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door. All right, next, It's Personal campaign. I have signed up UMSG to participate in the It's Personal campaign. From what I understand, I think this is the first time UMSG has participated. Can someone, excellent. We're gonna change that. We should be participating every year. So there are boxes set up, I think, already at the UMSG offices, at least I was told they were. And you guys are encouraged to drop off soap, shampoo, lotion, menstrual products, and other things in the collection, and it runs until November 22nd, I believe. I have a meeting with Nursing International tomorrow about their 70 grand funding request. And then I will be visiting Academic Affairs this week to start the Silly Bank conversations, as well as setting up a meeting with Associate Provost Marzilli. So come join us from 11 to 12 on Friday, I believe. Should be a party. And I finished the locker waiver stuff with Sean, as well as the non-existent list of things that cannot be stored. I'm just gonna drop that in the Senate chat so you guys can take a peek at it. Nothing super deep, but I thought it would be nice for you guys to see. And that is it.
Thank you. As for my report, as most of you know, I have public office hours every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm gonna be scrapping those Wednesday office hours due to other commitments. I will announce as soon as possible when I figure out what those hours are gonna be. When I get the chance, because this is my busy part of the semester as a CLAS student, I'm still working on a resolution amending the standing rules and pretty much just updating all of the wording and formatting and just cleaning it up. Hopefully I will get that done before we start the next session. And that's the end of the report. Vice President for Financial Affairs.
Hey y'all, so this week I took a little deep dive into our tier funding and sports clubs. And I'm gonna set up a meeting with Sean Owens over in the rec center to get some clarifying little tidbits of information. I also sent back some of the blurbs for like the funding requests for the colleges to get their last opinions and edits on them. That's really all I have for this week. Our starting unallocated is $56,672.66. We are returning some money to the unallocated from the special item in for outdoors clubs. This covers their rentals for the club storage. And then later today, you will hear from Black Bear Catholic for $1,300 and a report.
Thank you. Student organizations.
Yeah, so we had a few clubs at SOC. Obviously, you guys heard from Sam and the NROTC Michigan Student Group for preliminary. We also granted the undergraduate women in STEM emergency final recognition. Echoing what Keegan said, please express your interest if you are interested in this position. It's a really fun position. It's a great job to this organization. Not to gas myself up too much. Also, I'm working on revising the student org handbook to more accurately reflect our current processes. And I'll also be out of the office on Thursday and Friday, but I will be reachable by email. So yeah, no more.
Student entertainment.
Hello, everyone. So we are 2 days out from the show, and unfortunately, we did run into a little bit of a hiccup. The CCA's undergrad verification system was just like not working. And so their thought process to solve that problem was to just like have anybody walk up with a main card in which they could only verify if somebody had a ticket or not. I said no, so that's why the campus groups link is back up and it closes tomorrow night at midnight. After that, we do unfortunately have to go to only the main card verification system, but that's gonna happen when doors open, and that's that. But right now we have 530 people registered. Hopefully we can get that to 600 by tomorrow night. And then hopefully 200 people will show up on the day of the show. Sean seems very optimistic that a lot of people will show up because people show up last minute because they find out last minute sometimes, even though we post about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. As for movie tickets, 327 people went to the movies last week, which makes it the first time that 300 plus students have gone in consecutive weeks. So that's fun. And then lastly, we hosted an escape room for Halloween this past weekend, which was very fun. Everyone that participated, we had 4 teams participate, the 4 teams that didn't participate, so that was very fun. Only one was able to escape, which I mark as a success. And Senator McLean made a song for that, and we're gonna play that right now.
three's a trap, don't fall for it quick. It ain't a clue and I'm spilling the tea. Ain't nothing but confusion, ain't no answer. Lying to you and to me. I never liked puzzle 3. Lying to you and to me. Hey. Shout out SEC, don't trust puzzle 3.
Join SEC Mondays 1 to 2.
Student leadership.
Hi everyone, I have a really short report tonight. I've just been working on some projects for the semester, getting a new merge order ready. So if you have any ideas, drop them in the chat for me. I'm looking at doing magnets and lanyards as well as some other things we've done before. I'm finishing up new brochures to have on Saturday for the prospective student tabling, and then working on Senate retreat things. And like I said, I'll be tabling on Saturday. So if you want to be there, please help out. It is at 8, which kind of sucks, but there will be food and snacks and coffee. Also, just a side note, Senator McClain's song was the highlight of our exec meeting on Friday. So thank you for that. That's all. End of report.
Advisor to student government.
Hello all. Today is the last day that I will have sent you any voting messages. You're welcome. I think you probably all know this, but I need to say it. Polls close at 8 o'clock. If you're in line at 8 o'clock, because you still need to vote, you can vote. If you're not, then you may not vote today. So last chance. I did very much like your song. It had a little bit of a Fresh Prince vibe to it, which is kind of my era, so yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say, and kind of on a more serious note, those of you who have been around, you hear me say this kind of thing every year, but I mean it, and I want to say it because I care. We've had a lot of mental health issues going on campus, a lot. We've had some transports, we've had some people that are just not in great shape. So please do your best to look out for one another, to call for help when you need it, to call for help for others when you need it, and to reach out so that you're not a person that wishes that you had called for help or had called for help for someone else. We're here. You can call public safety to call the on-call counselor. You can call the dean's office. There's all sorts of people. You'll get routed to it. Dispatch is open 24/7 and they'll get you to the right person, or they'll get your friends to the right person. So please, please look out for each other.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speakers? Senator Martel.
Question for President Tripp. Did you say $70,000? 47?
Yeah, it was the one that came through.
Oh,
We all saw it. Actually.
President Tripp.
Okay, I have a little bit more of like a kind of PSA-ish announcement, but it has to do with, I guess I'm gonna frame it as a question of the VPFA and also the Senate. Our EBC is currently in a situation where we're going to begin seriously considering what reforms and changes need to be happening to our finances for sustainability of the organization. I just want to put that out there, just so that the Senate is aware that that is what we're moving forward with. Obviously, these all will be recommendations built within EBC, and they'll all come to Senate, so don't worry about it. But the other thing that I want to put into your minds now, just so we can start the conversation, and honestly, just that you all can start thinking about it, is I'm seriously considering moving forward with a plan to raise the activity fee in the situation that seems like the best option forward. Things continue to rise, and we're already at a point where the raise that we made 2 years ago is not sufficient, and we can see that. And of course, I'm at a point where the truth of the matter is I can run this organization with the amount of money that we have right now. I can run it with less money, but that's going to mean some major cuts. And I think that we need to be very clear with the student body about those two different directions student government can take. And I promise that I will do everything in my power to do so. I want to keep this as communicative as well as in a public session as much as possible because it's their money. It's all of our money, but it's their money first. So just putting that out there. This isn't to freak you out or anything. This is just a pretty serious thing that our organization does need to consider moving forward. And we're starting to tackle it now. So FYI.
Any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into periodic reports, starting with the faculty senate student representative.
So this is from the faculty academic affairs meeting that I went to last week. It's more details on the change in the gen ed requirements and, so just briefly, for the sake of time, they moved ethics into human values and social contexts, so it's not its own thing anymore. And then they added, and then your science things, gen eds will be quantitative literacy, laboratory sciences, and applications of scientific knowledge. So you have 3 instead of 2 now. And then, so there were a couple points that were brought up for each of those for just concerns by staff members and by myself. So for ethics, they're worried about staffing that. Then human cultural and traditions, which is already in the gen eds. It was moved around without asking about the indigenous people's representative and the gender studies reps, so they are going to be contact on that, so that might possibly change. So for the scientific ones, for people who are in engineering or biochem or things, you are able to wiggle around in them. There's some wiggle room, so talk to your counselor, or if you have people who you know, talk to your counselor. This is not passed yet, though. This is just what they're proposing through the Senate, faculty senate. Then for writing, that's the biggest thing that they are messing around with because of AI coming out. And there was a subject brought up of like public speaking as a writing and allowing that to be a writing gen ed. And then finally, there were the 1 class per course, per gen ed course. That is still questioning. The main goal of that is because people have been taking gen ed classes and then counting it for 2 of their cultural gen ed things, and then they don't have enough credits to graduate. So that's kind of the main goal of setting that up. If you have any comments and concerns about that, please let me know. There's going to be another meeting before this passes, and I can also email them. I put in a couple other concerns, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into that. If you have concerns, please email me or come up to me at some point.
Thank you. Does anybody have the Board of Trustees rep report? Seeing none, the EPC chair.
It's coming into business, so no report.
All right. Legal representative.
No report.
Representative Nikki, does anybody have the GSG report? Seeing none, Warren Town Council liaison.
No report.
Old Town City Council liaison.
No report.
Military and veteran affairs.
Hi, everyone. On Friday, there's going to be a flag ceremony at noon for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We'll present the flag raising ceremony in the mall in front of Foxwood Library to celebrate Humane veterans. On Saturday, there'll be Humane football versus Bryant, and it's part of the Military Appreciation Day game. On Tuesday, there's a Veterans Week open house from 11 to 1 at the Veterans Center room in Union, where they're going to enjoy Moe's barbecue meal in the Veterans Center. On Wednesday, there's a lunch voucher open for veterans on campus for up to $12 at the Bears Den. On Friday, there's an iced coffee bar with all the fixings in the veterans wing of the Memorial Union, also for people who are associated with veterans. And on Tuesday, there's going to be a Humane Veteran Community Connection dinner at 4 p.m. at the Veterans Center. And that's also for military members, NRTC, and community members as well.
Thank you. Communications.
Hi, so I've been posting on Instagram. I posted about the BPSO position. I posted another Meet the Senator Monday. I posted about President Keegan and Jordan Thompson on their wins. I also posted the first club spotlight on the story. And then I'm also going to start posting some exec spotlights and pictures.
Technology?
Howdy y'all. So I just got over a cold, in case it doesn't sound like it. I don't know. So I haven't done too much reporting other than donating some really old Kindles and recycling a broken printer, as well as minor updates. End of report.
Security representative?
On Sunday, I went to the members meeting for UVAC and went over logistics of how to submit fund requests to the annual call and the auxiliary department with the UVAC chief. They're looking to expand their building and get a new one because it's too small for what they need. There's also concern for them regarding how to get to the trails as it's considered their responsibility. But it would take too long to reach patients on the trails if they're injured because they can only walk, so they're looking to get a gator. And yesterday, I went to the space committee, and so I got to report back to them earlier today because I just got back from one of their meetings. Where I got to explain how the new funding request is gonna go and how we can help them. And if they need to contact auxiliary, if we can't submit their funding request through UMSG, because UMSG is gonna be allowed to submit every single form of funding request except for major capital improvement, because that's like those that would be like a request in millions of dollars. And that's just not something that the committee felt like that was kind of our responsibility to put in requests for. If you guys have any questions, we'll talk more about that later in the report.
Cougar liaison?
Today I was asked by Mindy Pelletier from Center for Undergraduate Research about whether UMSG would be offering printing aid to undergraduate students for the symposium this year. I'm told that we likely would not be able to do it this year in the report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into reports of standing committees. President Fairbanks.
On the printing issue, is that something that you would want any support in terms of, perhaps trying to find somebody else to fund it?
I was gonna look into that.
Okay, but let me know.
Any other questions for the speaker? Seeing none, we'll move into standing committees, starting with marketing and public relations. Membership.
All right, I hope everyone has had a wonderful day. I hope you got to exercise your rights if you're old enough to do that, or if you are able to. Today we have OPOP again. I promise this isn't a game pattern. Pam just has pneumonia, and I didn't want to burden her with any receipt mumbo jumbo this week, so we've got that. And they messed up the order a little bit, so that's okay as well. I'm currently looking through the results on the Google form for dietary restrictions and what we can do to accommodate with that. Pizza's a little bit easier with everything, but when we go into other sources of food, it'll be a little bit different. So I will keep that in mind, and if you keep responding to it, I think there's like 19 or 20 as of right now, and we have like 50 people in here. So if you can keep responding, that'd be great. I can send it again in the chat.
Does anybody have the policy and procedure report? Does anybody have the political activism report, Senator Chang?
Hey guys, please vote. The college Democrats knocked some dorm doors this morning. Please vote. The college Republicans are hosting an election party at 6 in the UCU Outlook. Please vote. Bridge USA is hosting their own watch party in Woodrow Hall at 7:30. Please vote. If you haven't already voted, you have until 8 p.m. to do so in the Collins Center for the Arts. Maine has same-day registration, and if you live on campus, you don't even need to show a piece of mail. Drop everything and go vote if you haven't. President Tripp is probably sitting down, so if you start running out, he probably can't catch you. Go vote.
I won't try.
I bet some of them can. Services? Academic affairs.
Hey guys, this is just another call for the people who want to get engaged in the syllabus bank project. You heard Keegan. We'll be talking about it in my committee on Friday. It'll be a blast. Send me an email if you're not in my committee's Google chat and you would like to be and report.
Are there any questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into special committees, starting with mental health.
Hi everyone, with some quick updates. We met this week on Monday and came up with ideas for things we can do to help resources on campus with things like visibility, and just general output. There's a lot of miscommunication going on, and that needs to get cleared up, and that's a first start. We also talked about speaking to Angela and Liz at the counseling center, as well as talking about the possibility of forming support groups or helping with those. Support groups were a thing that had been run before, and there is only one currently that gets run, which is the LGBTQ support group. It meets on Wednesdays, but there used to be more. And we think that that would be a good way of going about things. I also want to reach out to Dominique DeSpirito once again, when she's less busy. She's a friend of mine. She just got married. Great. But to hear about the survivors of suicide law support group that she runs with the Wilson Center every November. And so I'm going to get more information about that. I also plan on talking to a couple more people about different resources with outreach such as veteran affairs and things like that. End of report.
Undergraduate student symposium.
Last week, we met and we discussed different research experiences of our members, as well as what draws in first-year students to a symposium event. Also possible action items for what to introduce in this year's symposium, and things that we ourselves as a student government could offer undergraduates, such as itineraries, maps. Also possibly bringing up to Cougar ways to differentiate undergrad versus grad students, and maybe involving better oral presentation advertisement, that maybe footprints or bear paws leading to the presentation classrooms for oral presentations, and then the idea to organize the whole event kind of like an IKEA, where it's very, easily laid out and very accessible to all students. And a report.
Food and dining affairs. Are there any questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into representative board reports. Does anybody have any candidates report? Seeing none, honors college.
Okay. We didn't meet last week. I wasn't able to attend the week before, but as President Tripp mentioned, it's personal campaign. It starts on the 12th technically, goes till the 22nd. For information about what to donate, obviously it's personal care items, but please don't donate bulk items or travel items. Travel items are not sustainable when they're being donated to something like the BVE, but also if you donate bulk items, that takes up too much space in the BVE, even though they have a lot more room. So please be conscious of that when you donate things or get people to donate things. Also, Maine Day meal pack out. I'm not gonna stop talking about it until it's done. So please bear with me. Actually, I'm not going to apologize for any of that. We're doing a raffle with fun stuff mostly on November 20th or the 21st. We're not sure yet. I have no idea yet. But there's going to hopefully possibly be a hockey jersey for raffle that's signed. So if anybody's interested in that, you know where to find us. It's gonna be in the union. We want money to support our event, and that's it. End of report.
IFC.
Yes, executive board applications are gonna be open this week. So if you have any friends that are in fraternities, please encourage them to apply. But aside from that, we're probably gonna be holding our monthly joint meeting with Panhellenic Council either next week or the week after. Report.
And how?
So we finished our interviews for the next slate and everyone who got a position accepted it. So we announce the slate tomorrow at meeting, and then chapters have 2 weeks till the 20th to vote on it. Any report?
Class council.
No report.
Student athletic advisory.
So some game results. So men's cross country placed second at America East Champs. Women's cross country placed sixth. So hey, that's a win. That's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Field hockey beat UNH, now moves on to postseason play against UC Davis. Soccer also beat UNH, moves on to postseason play against UMass Lowell. Hockey remains undefeated with the Paralympics against Quinnipiac, and they go on the road to face BC. Women's basketball beat LaSalle. Men's basketball lost to Duke, though. I mean, it's Duke. Women's ice hockey beat UVM, won their 2-game series. Men's swim diving beat Norwich University. Women's swim diving lost to UVM, and football lost to Oklahoma. So I mean, a good week win-wise. And a report.
Any questions for the speakers? President Tripp.
A real quick one for our Greek reps. Could you add me to, do you guys have a Google Calendar invite for your meetings? Okay, you don't have to make that. Okay, yeah, perfect. So then I can throw it in my Google Calendar, I can remember. Okay, perfect.
Any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into community association reports, starting with Shaq.
Yeah, hello, y'all. Pretty eventful week, for the local culture organizations. They all, well, a majority of them participated in Culture Fest. And collectively, throughout all the organizations, we were able to raise over $1,000. So that's a victory for us. The second piece of biggest news is that we finally have our advisor, it is officially Daisy Singh, the Dean of Libraries. So, you know, we're happy to have her part of the team, and help us with all the events that are coming up and, you know, facilitating conversation, getting us connections, communications wise. And being a part of those weekly Shack meetings every Tuesday, actually right before the Senate meeting, from 4:30 to 5:30, right in the top room across the way. And, you know, in just general news, this week's Shack meeting was really productive. So, you know, in addition to making Daisy our new advisor, we also discussed Friends and Family Feast, which is going to be the biggest initiative for the next 2 weeks and a half. So during that meeting, we talked a lot. So we basically talked about having an exec meeting. We're gonna have an exec meeting either Thursday or Friday to finalize the details. So expect the funding request next week. And the way funding is gonna work is that ODI is going to contribute to all the utensils, cups, plates, decorations. They're also gonna do flyer consecration, so making the flyers, and then Shack, we're using the HAM grant and the funding will be up to the government. Point of information, the funding request is gonna be a lot less than it was last year, because now we got the additional HAM grant funding. So, you know, doing that, delegating, you know, where we're gonna cater from the event, you know, using last year's numbers. So that should be pretty quick to do. We're also gonna be looking for volunteers. A volunteer sheet is gonna go out for those who wanna participate in this event. So we're hoping to create stations, serving stations, set up, clean up, breakdown. So expect that to be sent in the Senate chat. I'm also gonna be sending it to, you know, Greek Life as well, if they wanna participate in this event. Yeah, so my job is notifying Sodexo, telling them it's gonna happen, getting some extra stuff from them. We're aiming to have approximately 600 people there. Last year we had 400 plus, just counting plates. And what the exciting part about this is that since we have the extra money to allocate to restaurants, we're gonna consider adding an additional restaurant because the organizations are not cooking, we're just catering. We're deciding, because it's on Thursday, to add Katahdin Kitchen. So starting that conversation with Katahdin Kitchen and having an indigenous food option there, considering, you know, possibly being a dessert, but end of report.
I agree, it's awesome. Wildstein?
Somehow I wrote this in my report this morning. On the 1 week, I had a bunch of information. So I'm gonna wait 5 seconds for Cam to sit down.
You can also send it to me if you want.
I will, actually, I'm gonna do this during 5-minute recess. We've scheduled Gay Thanksgiving, and it's going to be Friday, November 22nd, from 4 to 6 p.m. in the Co Room. Anyway, additionally, the Wednesday before that, November 20th, is Trans Day of Remembrance. It's an annual event. It's a national holiday, technically, I think, not federal holiday. Sorry, all over the place today. So we are going to be holding our annual Candlelight Vigil at 6 p.m. on the 20th, on the steps of Fogler Library. I think that's everything. End of report.
Thank you. Does anybody have the ISA report? Seeing none, are there any questions from the speakers? Senator Martin.
Question for Shaq, please, more. Is the Friends Family Feast gonna be in the same location as it was last year?
Yes, it will be in the North Pod.
That's it.
Any other questions for the speaker? President Tripp?
Was the Friends and Family Feast one of the events that was put through into the Shack budget? Yes, okay.
Any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, if it is the pleasure of the Senate, we will now enter a 5-minute recess and we will reconvene at 7 p.m. We will now reconvene. Seeing nothing on the consent agenda, we're going to finish business. We will move into new business, starting with 45S EBC 134, an act to allocate funds to the Black Bear Catholics for $1,300. Welcome.
Welcome, just sent you an email for a presentation.
You said meeting email? Right, okay, great.
Okay, as soon as it comes through.
Awesome, thank you so much.
You're putting the presentation on the screen.
Yep.
Well, if you'd like to take it away when we get it set up.
Absolutely, yeah. So my name is Zachary Pelletier. I'm the treasurer for Black Bear Catholic. Thank you all for being here this evening and hearing this presentation. We are looking for funding for SEEK, and SEEK is an annual Catholic conference for college students. It's very popular. Last year, there were about 20,000 in attendance. This year, it got so popular that it sold out maybe a couple of weeks, and there are now 2 locations in Washington, D.C. and Salt Lake City. We will be going to Washington, D.C., and this will be held from January 2nd through January 5th. We have 21 students in attendance, 11 of whom are undergraduates. So a little bit about our club. We had 100 students participate in a Bible study last year. This year we've had 78 so far, and we are projecting that number to be closer to 150. So we have a very broad range of people that we are appealing to, and many students that come around for our events. We have 50 to 60 students who attend Mass weekly on campus or at a local church. We have probably 30 to 40 students who attend our weekly Wednesday night suppers, which we have right here in Mohegan on Wednesday nights. And with those, we cater foods. We'll have Chick-fil-A and Chipotle and such. So they're very, very popular among the college crowd. So as you can see, we have a very wide-reaching community. And I can say that there are many people, myself included, who have made most or all of their friends through Black Bear Catholic. So you're certainly reaching many in the community. So last night, the Executive Budgetary Committee approved $1,300 of funding, which we are very grateful for. However, we would actually request a little bit more money than even that. The registration cost is about $325 per person, and there's $400 more for travel and lodging, which $400 for travel and lodging is very reasonable, and we've worked hard to get that cost as low as possible. This is 3 nights at a hotel in Washington, D.C. which is.
I'm so sorry, but before we go any further.
Yeah, do you mind if I just come up and make sure it got shared, because I don't have it on my end?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just didn't want to interrupt like midway through. But I also didn't want to leave your presentation without saying it. Essentially, just sometimes
Okay. Forward, maybe one more time.
Sorry,
Oh, you're all.
got it.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, well.
We go to the 4th slide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. This is a picture of our group on the left, and on the right, we have those who attended SEEK last year. Next slide, please. So this is what I was covering right before we put this up. So $325 registration costs and $400 for travel and lodging. This is, as you can see, over $700 per student, which is a large financial burden for most, or if not all, students. Last year, we received $6,000 from student government, and I know that the budget is tighter this year, and I want to be respectful of that. And last year, our missionaries raised $5,500. So these missionaries, this is the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, and they work with the students very closely to raise money and help us to attend this conference. So the students will pay the remainder on their own to attend. So as much funding as we could get, we would greatly appreciate, because if not, this will come out of the students' pockets at some point. So you can see here that the total cost is going to be about $80,000. With the $1,300 from student government, that would require us to come up with about $6,600 ourselves. Go to the next slide, please. So without any undergraduate funding, it will be about $288 per undergraduate. With the $1,300 that the UBC just recently approved, that would be $170 per undergraduate. However, if we could get $2,300, $1,000 more, that would bring it down to just under $80 per undergrad, which would be a very manageable price point for most students to pay. And so I would like to request that we have $2,300 in funding here today. And go to the next slide. Thank you very much for hearing my presentation. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speakers? Senator Sparks?
When is this year?
This will be January 2nd through 5th.
FEPC chair?
Our documents that we were given say it's the focus conference, not the SEEK conference.
Can you repeat that?
Our documents that we were given, say that this is for attending the focus conference, not the.
Yes, so SEEK is the conference run open. So SEEK is the conference, the name of the conference, which is put on by Focus, and Focus is a 501c3 nonprofit.
President Burke?
What are your plans for fundraising between now and January?
Sure. So we're thinking of doing primarily a wreath fundraiser. We have one of our members who owns a wreath making business and would be willing to donate her time and ability to make wreaths and sell them to students or parishioners at our local church. We also have a couple other fundraisers, including a candle fundraiser, and we will also be doing a bake sale at some point.
So are those fundraisers like already built in, like projections built into the current cost, or?
So we currently have $1,000 that we've made from fundraising in general, and we're going to try to raise as much as we can. However, given the fact that we are about a month and a half away from finals week and when everything will get really busy, we're trying to have a little of a burden as possible, because that kind of money is very difficult to come by.
Senator Baum?
I was wondering how many of the undergraduate students who are going on this event went the previous year and previous years?
Right, so this year 11 are signed up to go. There is a waiting list, as I said, it's sold out. So there could be more, but at the moment we have 11. Previous years we had 15, so.
I more meant how many students who are going this year went last year. Do you have any?
Yes, so we have a good amount of repeat, I would say probably about half, 5 or 6.
Any other questions for the speaker? VP Rocky?
What's the difference between this one in DC and the one in Salt Lake City?
I believe that they just split it up based on geography, and this is a central location for those on the East Coast, and the one on the West Coast is just for those who are out there.
Any other questions from the speaker? Seeing none, what's the committee's recommendation?
401 opt to pass as amended.
Senator Weber?
I motion to approve the committee's recommendation.
Second.
If that is the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. Any discussion on the motion? Any debate? Senator Weber?
So, what we are discussing right now is the 1,300 just as it is
I do believe that lowering it by, or I would like to, never mind, what would I, or can I ask, what would the motion to amend the?
I would like to make a motion to amend.
Yep, I would like to make a motion to amend the amount from 1,300 to 2,300. Second.
Hearing a second, if that is the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. Any discussion on amending the resolution to be 23? Any discussion? Any debate? Representative Guzman?
Yeah, can you explain why you put the motion?
Yeah, so in the presentation, it said that before, with the regular 1,300, the amount needed would be about $170 or $180. With our recommendation, with the approval, it would lower by almost $100. I think that is this, and this is a conference that again, a lot of people are going to. I think it's very powerful conference. I believe that lowering will make it easier, and it's not so much of a divide. It's also, again, less than half of what they had been given previous years. So it isn't like a favoritism thing or a non-thing. We're still lowering it by a very sizable amount from previous years in condition to what we have with our budget. But I do believe that that amount getting raised to like what was showcased will make it so much more accessible to the members of the club.
Any other debate? VP Oldfield?
I'd just like to say that personally, I think using what we gave last year as a number or a point of reference is not the best idea because we're clearly in a very different financial situation than we were last year. And while I wish we could give everyone as much money as they needed to be able to go on these trips and not have it be a financial burden, they do have about a month and a half to fundraise as much as they can. And paying for their registration alone is quite a bit of money from student government at our financial position as it stands now. So I would be against raising the amount of value just solely based on what we have for money for the entire year.
Representative Tanaka?
We kind of shot down last week, Black Student Union, and they're kind of asking for similar amounts. I feel like it would kind of be unfair to just give them extra money. When we shot them down, they had similar amounts of people going. It kind of shows a bias.
President Tripp, did you still have a debate? Senator Ricker?
I think that we just don't have the allocated to afford $2,300 for the undergraduate students. I think 1,400 is a reasonable number that we can be able to give them. Otherwise, our allocated is already in bad situations, which is people spending in them.
Representative Guzman?
Yeah, I think when we look back at other funding requests for conferences of similar statute, we have decided not to amend the funding amount. With that being said, they do have quite a bit of time, so it isn't a time crunch like other organizations that have come through have had. They have a month and a half. So I think it would be fair, if you were gonna put through an amendment, to do it with a stipulation where it's we'll meet them halfway if they're able to halfway fund for this event. So the $1,000, if they fund 500, we'll meet them at 500. Which is, stipulations that we put in the past. So if they make the initiative, we'll make the initiative.
President Tripp?
I would hesitate to stipulate EDC requests in this form just because it leaves far too many open doors. And if we're going to do something like that, which I think if we could take the basis of what you're saying and do something where we could reconsider an additional funding request down the line from the same organization. But I would be against it in that regard, just because stipulating that they have, to do something to get a certain amount. I don't know whose job it would be to kind of audit that and keep, it's not, we're not, I don't think we've ever done it in that way. We've never done it in a way that's like a stipulation to see fundraising in order to get money, because that's kind of what EDC does. Does that make sense? They prevent that.
Well, any new debate on the motion at hand? Senator McLean?
I would say that 2,300 for a national event like this is quite affordable in comparison to what we've seen for requests for other national events. And I'd like to say in response to Student Athletic Advisory Counselor Tanaka, that
I feel like this is different than the Black Student Council, mainly because I feel like this is a much more structured event. I mean, look, they have an event that they're planning to go to. It's not like, oh, we're gonna go to a museum for a day and wander around. I feel like this is a much more structured and well put together presentation. And the fact that it makes it much more affordable from $179 to $79 per person, just for this amount, I feel like it would be worth it.
Representative Wentworth.
I think it's worth pointing out that the speaker mentioned that about half of these people have already been to a conference like this before. And a national conference like this is usually more of a once in a college career type of event.
Any other new points for debate on the motion at hand? Senator Sparks?
Comparing the previous funding request, that was only for one day. This is 3 days, and adding more money is a lot, and I don't think that we should add that much, but the comparison is not even there.
Senator Martin?
We sort of had this similar situation with Model UN a couple weeks back. Actually, I think they went to or trying to go to Philadelphia and with similar amounts of money. And we sort of had a very long litigation about how we felt about giving them money outside of EBC and like amending it on the floor. So I feel like this kind of sets like not like a bad precedent of amending stuff on the floor right now.
Any other new points for debate? Senator Bone?
BC definitely went over this pretty heavily. We took into consideration how we've been considering BSU, how we've been considering Model UN in the past, just trying to keep everything kind of even to how we've done it this year. Just making sure that we're treating all the clubs fairly. We feel like this was where we were at on what we gave all the rest of the clubs. And how maybe a little bit more considering how much they've done, like in the right process. They're doing their own fundraising. They're planning to fundraise in the future. They still have time. But EBC came to 1,300 because we felt like that was in line, and we were pretty sure that we came to an agreeable amount.
President Tripp?
And with that being said too, I think that like when we're comparing and contrasting, I agree with Senator Bone. EBC is taking these things into consideration, I promise. The second thing is that not every club and org has a national chapter to support events like this across the country, which means that individual groups that are and this is pertaining to like past contexts, not this one. When they do events, it's gonna be more costly because they don't have a national chapter setting something up in the background. It's kind of usually how that is, so we need to consider that. I think we have been relatively even with all of the things that UBC has passed, and I would very, very, very much caution the Senate from picking and choosing.
Any other new points for debate on the motion at hand? Senator Ricker?
The 1,400 was based on as a line item and it made sense with the whole things, like the 2,300, for example, is arbitrary and not based on an actual line item in itself. So I just caution against that kind of numbers just because it sounds even like 1,000, just because it, yeah.
Any new points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of amending the resolution to read 2,300? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that fails. We are now back in debate regarding the original 1,300. Any new points for debate? Senator DeLorme?
Could I ask the speaker a question?
Yeah.
I know you guys had mentioned like you do like a weekly catered event. Is that weekly?
Yes, it is weekly every night.
And does that come out of like your guys' budget that you fundraise for? Or is that something separate that's?
So those are from the gracious donations of the parish.
Okay, thank you.
Any other points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution reading 1,300? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that passes. Thank you very much. Next, I'll be granting the floor to our FDPC Chair Stanton.
Okay, so I know you guys are all anxious about the election. I'm here to update you. There won't be any.
That was so nonchalant that you just did that like that.
So I put a headphones on.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we are capped at CLAS and at large. One senator moved around their college positioning, which allowed for us to not go to any election. If you want further information, I have it. Yeah.
And just adding on to that, so it seems like as far as we're concerned, everybody who was on the ballot or applied for it are now currently senators-elect for the 2025 Senate session. When it comes to new applications, I'll also have a conversation with you and probably our VPSL. Any people who are now interested in Senate, now that we're past the election period, we're probably going to ask to please revisit us next semester where the Senate seats are like actually open. And then we'll probably go back to a first come, first serve basis. But I think this was a great learning experience for us as a Senate of really embracing the rules that we should have been following in the first place. So yeah, I applaud all of you for your great work and dedication and patience and really just being hands-on about it. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Any questions for the FEPC chair? Senator Ricker?
So, like, I managed to move with education, I never got a confirmation. Just make sure.
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions for the state? Seeing none, that concludes our new business. There's no main motions, no exec session. Any special orders and announcements? Any member of UMSG Inc. may address the GSS for not more than 5 minutes. Senator Fang.
I'm sorry, I'd like President Tripp to go first, actually.
Why?
Because mine's really stupid.
But I want you to.
It's probably we sit your go.
Never mind. Any other special orders and announcements? President Tripp.
You have until 8 o'clock to get in line and vote. If you haven't already, I very, very much encourage you to do so. It is not just a chaotic day, it's a civic duty. And again, you literally, if you live on campus in Eden, you could just show up. So please do that. And that's it.
Senator Sparks.
I forgot to mention this in our report, but there was talk about adding a sticker to your diploma that basically says, congratulations, you completed your gen eds, and so you get a sticker for each category. That is in the works. That was just tossed out there. If you are against that, let me know. I was kind of like, sure, why not? But
Like a,
diploma player? Yeah.
like it'll come with the sticker whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Special orders and announcements.
Isn't that kind of redundant since you already have to have the gen eds on the budget?
It wouldn't change anything. It's more of a like reminder that you did it.
Any other Senator Chalmerdine?
I just wanted to give a quick summary of the space committee meeting. So we have the forms and the website completely set up. There was a couple different things that were added to it, due to like comments from the meeting. The responsibility has been given to UMSG for all funding requests. And there's not just us. Sorry, I'm looking at you, Keegan. I'm just looking at your face. I'm sorry.
You just have so many, okay.
Okay, so this would mean that any student on campus or faculty member can come to us and we would be the ones processing what they want done and you'd be the ones submitting the funding request. And so this is something that would be really great for outreach within our own colleges because this is how we like really advocate for like the problems within each of our own little communities. I have no idea how this is going to work because it's actually kind of a large thing that has been put upon us. I want to help. Okay, I'll give you help. But when the link or the website is up, it's gonna be sent to president and vice president. It's not gonna be a form that all of us are able to submit to. However, I will put in the draft in the Google chat and I'll write out what I'm saying now in a little bit more detail. But yes, and so with this, I'm helping UVAC try and put forth a request for a new building because that's something that they really, really need. And so I will be going through the trials and tribulations with them with that because they have their own department, they're part of auxiliary, but they currently don't have a good relationship with auxiliary. And I don't know what we are as UMSG allowed to submit requests for, if that we're allowed to do it for that department or not. And so I'm not sure about that yet. And so setting up how we do all of these funding requests and how we structure and try and organize everything, I don't know yet. I just need a little time to think about it.
Can you talk to me after?
Yeah, I was planning.
Yeah, great.
That's the end.
I have so many questions.
Can I have President Tripp question in a special reason?
Yeah.
Who won the Culture Fest food
Yes, okay, from what I understood, okay, I'm gonna remember this from the top of my head. China won, dessert. India won vegetarian dish. Nepal won meat dish. Best presentation went to Ecuador. Yeah, correct me.
It was Saudi Arabia. That was for best presentation.
Was Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia.
Yes, okay, okay, I guess I don't remember that. I'm pretty sure it was Iran that won presentation.
I must have gotten it mixed up because they had a cultural presentation too.
Yes, Iran won best presentation, so, and then best drink was, yes, it was the Philippines. Okay, I didn't judge, I only judged dessert and vegetarian dish.
Oh, okay.
And they were great. It was so much fun. It was awesome. And everybody had like so much fun. And there were so many people there. The governor was there. So thank you for all who showed up for that too. It was really cool.
Any other special orders and announcements? Senator Cowan?
I think I mentioned it last week. I'm still in the very, very preliminary stages of planning the annual Take Back the Night March. This is something that's gonna take place in April. We're holding space for victims and survivors of sexual assault and create awareness for that on our campus and hopefully create a better environment where we can prevent these things from happening in the future. People will be encouraged to share their own stories. We'll also be anonymously sharing people's stories of assault. If you would like to be part of planning that, or share your intentions of wanting to share a story there, please contact me. I would love to have you on my planning committee.
Thank you. Any other special orders and announcements? Representative Merchant?
Oh yeah, two things. My office hours are gonna be wonky this week. I'm gonna link. I'm so sorry. We'll get into that for a second, but office hours are just gonna be weird. This week I'm leaving for Philadelphia on Thursday and we're packing tomorrow, so I will leave time for you guys. Just when I post in there, it's gonna be digital again. Just email me and I'll drop everything during those times. In seconds, no one else has mentioned it before, I'm gonna say it again. Go vote. The lines are really short. And I was a poll worker for like the last 3.5 hours. It's pretty easy. And out-of-staters can't vote. So those who are not from Maine think they can't vote. You can't vote. Well, that is it.
Any other special orders and announcements? Senator Chalmers?
I forgot to add this, but last time I was super excited about the idea of students being able to see what's already been requested. But in the form that was presented to us, that wasn't a thing. And I'm not sure why it wasn't built into the website, but that may be something that would then fall onto us as we're the ones that would be processing the students' requests. And so that might be something that we, as an organization, publicize what requests we're putting forward.
Any other special orders and announcements? Senator Glenn?
There's an invitation for all of you present here. I'm giving my country presentation this Friday, 4 to 5 here in Union. So you all are invited. I'm making the food.
Any other special orders and announcements? Seeing none, the clerk will now call the final.
Cynthia Florida here. Ezekiel Delorme.
Here.
Nathan.